I swear to God, I do the streams at all the wrong times. We are in the middle Cavs Pistons game. Pistons are up 4 in the Cavs going in the third quarter, and I'm trying to keep my shit together. Good evening, everyone. I'm Tyrus the Warlock here on Black Men Unfiltered. Uh yeah, a lot going on, a lot to pay attention to. Right now I got us trying to multitask, man, trying to keep it together. One we're gonna be getting into a lot of things, man. There's a lot of guys. I know if y'all been going to all around all these panels, you've been hearing about Christianity and uh lineage and genealogy, heritage, all this other stuff, what it means to be, FBA, ADOS, or what other new term we're gonna come up with. But you know what's really crazy, guys? A lot of people don't come up here and actually post the results. Right? Like who are you? Do you even know the difference between heritage and lineage? Some of you guys, I'm gonna be honest, I'm just gonna come out the gate, man. Some of you guys that claim the Hebrew Israelite probably gonna get your feelings hurt a little bit, because what we're going to do is we're going to use my ancestry DNA results, and we're gonna go on a little history trip. And we're going to clear up some timelines historically about what happened, what didn't happen. Um, and then ultimately, I'm going to tell you guys why my heritage, why I consider my history to start here in America. But first, let's give some quick updates. Real quick, if you guys was watching last night, you saw me fucking rage quit yesterday. That wasn't the first time. It won't be the last. Yes, guys, y'all know me. This constant nagging about what the women's are doing is highly annoying. Okay, guys, I get it. You know what I mean? The women don't like you. Okay, they got these crazy. Well, they only seem to have these crazy ass standards when it comes to you. I don't know about other dudes. You know what I mean? They don't seem to have to deal with these weird ass standards. But I digress. You know what I mean? At the end of the day, what happened last night. Y'all pissed me the hell off, and you're gonna continue pissing me the hell off, and that's just gonna be our relationship. So moving on, guys. Y'all know Trump literally got in front of the camera and said, "I don't think about Americans." When talking about the Iranian negotiations going on right now. Oh yeah, quick update, update, guys. We're into what, the 10th week of our 4 to 5 week excursion in Iran. We're in week 10, right? And MAGA, your president straight upset. He don't care about your freaking I don't care about your finances. Shout out to Anton. Shout out to Nathan. Good to see you out here. Would you rather itch for 1 day or get tickled for 1 hour? Oh, shit. I gotta dwell on that, Nathan. Damn it, Nathan. You done threw me off. That's actually a good one. All right. But yeah, guys. So this dude straight up don't care about the American people and our plight that's going on, guys. And y'all know it. I mean, y'all been knowing it. A lot of you guys was just coping, lying to yourselves. But we've been told you. Um, so yeah, we got that crap going on. Y'all know that Trump and Elon Musk, for whatever reason, is in China or headed to China. Um, guys, why is Elon Musk traveling with the president of the United States to talk to Xi Jinping and ultimately about what's going on in Iran? Like, what, guys? What does he have to do with that? Seriously. But like I tell you guys repeatedly on this pod, this is what happens when you think the wealthy are just good at everything. You think because some wealthy guy got hit on one aspect, one industry, all of a sudden he knows what he's doing in everything. I need somebody to explain what what credentials Elon Musk has to talk about geopolitical issues between China, Iran, and the United States? Because there is none. You know what I mean? John Connor says, "You're wealthy. What are you talking about, bro? I am not a one percenter. What are you talking about? I'm okay. I'm comfortable. I could financially, my budgeting is good, but I'm not wealthy." And you know what we talking about, John? We talking about the ultra rich, bro. Come on, you really tried to compare me to Elon? I'm flattered, but come on, bro. Really? Really, bro? Dog, straight up. And you know how I am, guys. How many times can Elon buy me over? Just talking about the pure web, okay? Please. That being said, it doesn't change the fact, John. He got no business talking about geopolitical issues with war in Iran and the United States. Not his wheelhouse. And you know it's not his wheelhouse. You know what I mean? So we got to stop this. And by the way, for some of you guys, do you guys hear about the deposits, the scam, which is the Trump phones? I think like 100 people, or I mean, it was like 600,000 people put in like $100 deposit, guys. Hey, look, man. I know some people did it as a joke, but for the people that are really like diehard Trumpers, what are y'all doing? Seriously, what are y'all doing? The Trump phones, the golden shoes, the watch, the coins, the Trump Bible, and y'all just buy all of it up. I, I really don't know what's going on, but anyway, just some quick updates, something to get this party started. Let's get right up into it, guys. I am not going to give some long, elegant monologue. This is my results. Yeah, guys, that's my real name. I really don't care. My DNA and public profiles all over the place. So have fun. Yeah, look at this, guys. If you're FBA, if you ADOS, however it is, America First, a tradition, ancestral American, whatever the hell it is you call yourself as black as Black Americans, your DNA is going to look something like this. It's going to look very, very simple. Now, as you guys know, I am. Hold up, real quick, yo, Anton.
What's going on, Tarus?
How you doing, man?
As always.
So, if you guys, as you know, I'm half Puerto Rican, right? So you're gonna see the Puerto Rican, the island and indigenous tribes, the Iberian Peninsula, and stuff like that. Oddly enough, though, especially some of you guys who claim you're descendants of Moors. Well, if you're descendants of Moors, you're probably gonna have some of that Iberian Peninsula genetics in you anyway,
Yep.
right? But yeah, guys. So it was interesting, Anton. Real quick, John Connor, aren't we all people of color? Yes. But John, you know how people love playing games up around here in these YouTube streets.
Exactly.
I mean, uh, first and foremost, Anton, what do you think overall? Do you think if you did your genetic test, it would look similar to this?
Probably a little bit different than that because I know for a fact both my parents are from the island of Haiti. Both my
Oh,
parents,
right. You're Caribbean. Yeah.
my parents, and my grandparents, and my great grandparents, and my great great grandparents.
Mm.
So, but there is some things that I did find out while doing a trace. I didn't get just to do one of those DNA things, but these were the things that were passed down via word of mouth. On my father's side, my family was originally is basically originated from Senegal, and my mother's side, in a way, originated from Morocco and Egypt.
Mm. Yeah. So, Anton, these results, by the way, these are I did mine like a couple years ago. Fun fact, Anton. I unfortunately am that Ancestry DNA guy who went, oh, hello, brand new half aunt I never met from Chicago. Yeah. Yeah, I accidentally started a whole rabbit hole with that one with the family. So that was interesting. End up finding out Anton, Chicago area grandfather had 12 kids.
Wow.
5 different women, bro. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, that was fun. And Anton, this started off because I just wanted to see how far back I can trace it. It was just really some fun shit, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I hear you.
Yeah, it was really just seeing, okay, how far back can I try to take it before, obviously no documentation and all that other stuff.
True. I mean, but I mean, a lot. It's a good thing that people are now doing this, and people don't realize how more connected that than they are.
Yeah.
And the reason why I'm glad this is being done is because you got some people who love to call the FBA, the ADOS, and they feel like if your ancestors weren't from here, you're not really black. And I'm looking at them like, excuse me. Last I checked, it ain't my fault that my ancestors fought and gained their independence, and y'all ancestors were still on the plantation. That ain't my fault.
What's funny is, Anton, is when we and I want to definitely dive into this, is it seems like us as Black Americans don't really know the difference between heritage and lineage.
I think it goes back to something I remember in high school, and this is going back 30 years. I remember something my teacher said. He said the difference between Black Americans and Blacks that are West Indian African descent is something called a sense of connection. You can trace, like a lot of us from the islands and from the continent can definitely trace our roots back beyond slavery. And I think that's what it is. I think because of the fact that, you know, my parents didn't have to worry about segregation. My grandparents never had to worry about Jim Crow. My great grandparents didn't have to worry about getting lynched. But I know for a fact that I have ancestors that did fight side by side with Jean-Jacques Dessalines, Henri Christophe, Toussaint-Louverture, and Alexandre Pétion when we defeated Napoleon to get our independence since 1804. And it's easy to forget that Haiti is the second oldest republic in the Western Hemisphere behind the United States. The first country to abolish slavery. Also, what people forget, and it's funny how a lot of people love to sleep on my people. A lot of people don't realize when Haiti gained its independence and screwed France over, and yes, I take pride. Yes, and I'm glad my ancestors did that. What's one of the most significant things to take place in American history because of that? The Louisiana Purchase. France was going broke. They didn't just say, hey, United States, we got this territory, you can have it if you want it. France was going broke because not only that my ancestors bankrupt them when we gained our independence, but people forget France had a revolution going on their shores as well.
So, first and foremost, I love Haitian culture. I love the Haitian history. If you're a Black American, foundational Black American, you know that there were a lot of slave uprisings and revolts in America that happened thanks to our Haitian brothers successfully freeing themselves from their slave masters. That's real. That was real influence. So Anton, shout out to your lineage, bro.
But also, the thing most people don't realize that my ancestors also took part in many different aspects. The Battle of Savannah, one of the bloodiest battles during the American Revolution. We fought, even though we didn't win, we fought the British to the end. People don't realize that. So we fought the British. Yeah. We fought the French to gain our independence, and we also fought the Spanish too to help establish what is now Latin America. Because Simon Bolivar found Alexandre Pétion and said they needed help to fight the Spanish. And that's how places like Puerto Rico, Dominican Republic, Cuba, and parts of Central and South America all gained their independence from the Spanish.
So when I was doing my ancestry, bro, even for a couple years now, god damn it. We was cakes. Wakanda, shout out to you, bro. John Connor, what do you think about Jesse Waiters? I think he's a clown, but I haven't seen what he said lately. But you know, when Anton, I'm like really thorough with history, and
Mhm.
it seems like there's so many conflicting timelines because if you look at my West African genetics, which is the main one, right?
Right,
You see, obviously, look at that difference, right?
right,
That's a bunch of different mixtures, right? Obviously, we got the Iberian Peninsula.
right.
We're gonna get into that history. Obviously, the Puerto Rican. We know where the Celtic or the Gaelic and the English comes from, right?
Yep.
By the way, and again, guys, if you're FBA/ADOS, you got this England, Celtic, and Gaelic. You got
Mhm.
that up in you. Happy birthday, right? But you see, I got Central Africa, Northern Africa. I don't know where the hell the Albania comes from. That's cool, but whatever.
Albania isn't part of Central Europe, dude. Albania is that part of Europe. Albania, let's see if I remember. Albania and Armenia and a couple of those places in Romania. Some of those places were seen as the runts of the litter.
Yeah.
And people forget that, you know?
Well, and so here's the thing, Anton. When I'm looking at my ancestry results, when I'm looking at, again, when we're talking about DNA, guys, when we're talking about lineage, we are talking about DNA, right? So, guys, real quickly, lineage is what you are, I believe. Hold up, let me check. Yeah, lineage is who you are genetically, and heritage is what you believe, your traditions, something passed down immediate. All right. So when we're talking about lineage, guys, I'm looking obviously Western Africa, that lines up with that African slave trade, right?
Yep.
But you know what's not over there, Anton? Uh what's how do you change that? Okay. There we go. What's not on my DNA genetics is Ethiopia,
Mm,
right? And so this gets to the part where again, we talk about heritage, lineage, we talk about things like identity, which is a struggle with, let's be clear, black our community, black Americans, we have a huge problem with identity and finding pillars. And so I couldn't help but go down the rabbit hole because I keep hearing about right Ethiopia this, Ethiopia that, as far as the Bible, the religion, the stuff like that. Anton, Ethiopia, Christianity didn't originate in Ethiopia. Christianity was just, or Ethiopia was one of the first nations to adopt Christianity,
hmm
right?
Yeah.
And yet we got a lot of people who would imply that it started in Africa. But the reality is Christianity is a Middle Eastern religion. Hebrew is a Middle Eastern religion. Even the oldest tribes are from the Middle East.
What people don't realize also in parts of Ethiopia, if I remember, they have a significant contingent of those who practice Judaism in Ethiopia. And here's a real cool thing. Sometime back when I used to do Amway,
Mhm.
one of the people that I worked with in the business is a descendant of Haile Selassie.
Mm.
And I remember, like, I knew the family was from Ethiopia and everything else. And I remember one time I got a chance to look around and I saw all these pictures of Haile Selassie. And I'm looking like, wow, like I'm really impressed about this. And then the woman says, yeah, he's family. I'm like, really? She said, yeah, he's one of my descendants. Yeah, I'm one of his descendants. I'm like, are you serious? She's like, yeah. So she's like, yeah. How many people could say they got to meet the descendants of Haile Selassie?
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
I'll tell you something even better. How many people could say they went to high school with the descendants of Mansa Musa?
Yeah, sometimes you got to be careful with how long the descendants go, because you still got people arguing about descendants of Khan, the Genghis Khan or something like that. But Puzo, shout out to you, bro. What continent would you say the Middle East lays in? Or lays in the continent of Asia? Right? The Middle East is on the Asian continent. It's been that way for quite some time. Yeah. So Ethiopia, right? It was one of the first nations to adopt Christianity, like as a predominant religion. Bro, from Ethiopia, which is the
hold on, Taru. Someone said Egypt is in Africa. No, Egypt is in Africa.
Yeah, like
they've been debating that for the longest, and I think a lot of people put that to rest. Yes, Egypt is in Africa. While yes, you do have a landmass not that far from Egypt that where they connect. Yes, Egypt is part of Africa, my friend. Mm-hmm. It's always because they say that because the majority of the people in Egypt practice Islam. That's why they always say Egypt is part of the Middle East. But a lot of those countries in the Middle East, Saudi Arabia, Qatar, Iran, Iraq, Yemen, Oman, yes, they all practice Islam.
Yeah. Guys, the only reason Egypt is considered part of the Middle East, by the way, it's the only country in Africa considered part of the Middle East, is because of the shared culture there, the similar historical culture. But this is weird because it doesn't take away from the fact that Hebrew and Christianity originated in Israel, Palestine, not Egypt. You know what I mean? Even if you, and by the way, Puzzle, just to be clear, not using the new lines because we know this was drawn by the colonial powers, but even using the tribal maps, firmly Middle East, bro. Okay, and on top of that, even dealing with this facts, that ain't got nothing to do with me, Anton. Like genetically, just got nothing to do with me. Whether it's Ethiopia, this got nothing to do with me. My Egyptian genetic was 1%. That's almost negligible when you're talking about genetic line, right?
Well, one group also you have in Egypt there are Christians that do live in Egypt. They're known as Coptics, and I remember befriending one woman that is a Coptic Christian, and most people never realize that you have Christian, that you do have some areas of Egypt where they practice Christianity. Just like a lot of people did not know that you had people in Europe, blonde hair, blue eyed, that practice Islam in what used to be Yugoslavia, like Bosnia Herzegovina, Slovenia, Croatia, Albania, Serbia. A good number of the people there practice Islam as well.
Yeah, and that's the thing. You can practice whatever you want. One thing I'm just simply clearing up from all the panels and crap that I've been hearing is this idea that we're genetically linked, and we're not. Okay, if you're FBA origin, you're way over here. Okay,
we're part of Western Africa.
Just to put it in perspective, Anton, from Ethiopia, it's the Garma Monastery. That's where the oldest Bible It's located in Ethiopia in the Garima Monastery, created between the 4th and 5th century. That place, from there to get to West Africa, where our people are from, Anton, is 4,800 miles. That is the equivalent of going to New York to LA twice.
Yep.
So people need to put in perspective when we're talking about that amount of distance thousands of years ago. All right. Like when you're talking about little pockets of tribes, small little hints of, hey, these guys happen to practice so religion. You cannot say because I had a sprinkle of Christianity somewhere in North Africa, that means everybody was practicing Christianity. That's not how it works. There are people sprinkled in our country today, guys, who practice Buddhism. Nobody would make the claim that America is a Buddhist country or Americans practice Buddhism as a collective. You know what I mean? And so what's crazy, and so Anton, I go through this, bro, and then I can't line up because we always talk about the transatlantic slave trade.
Right.
You didn't look at the fact that the Arab slave trade that happened a couple hundred years before the transatlantic slave trade, that coincided in the 7th century. Muslim merchants came to Western Africa and stuff like that, Anton, correlated with them bringing Islam with them. So the merchants brought the religion of Islam with them to sub-Saharan Africa and on to West Africa, coincide directly in the 7th century with the Arab slave trade that lasted well into the 1980s, dog. Some will say it even, or I mean, actually, we know that there's still pockets of slave trades that exist in parts of Africa today.
Yeah, I've heard about that.
So the Arab slave trade is the longest ongoing slave trade in human history. They were the first ones to come to West Africa and start poaching people, right? Middle Eastern religion. Then we get another Middle Eastern religion a couple hundred years later called Christianity in the 15th century, right? Obviously, their version of Christianity is like Roman Empire, Roman Catholic, that kind of stuff. But the religion itself originated in the Middle East. And so now you correlate bringing Christianity to Western Africa with the transatlantic slave trade.
Yeah.
So now we got back-to-back Middle Eastern religions using their influence to justify human trafficking. I don't want to be attached to that, dog. Like, I know people, like, religiously, I get that people, again, they can practice their beliefs, they can believe whatever they want. But Anton, if I was really going to be on some homeland motherland stuff, my religion based on my DNA results would not be Christian, would it?
Nah. Nah, absolutely not.
Let's look at that. Let's see. Shout out to Sabrina. I think part of the scam that they're trying to make is make us give into so they have open gate to Africa, destroy oldest people on earth.
I see your point in that aspect.
I could see your point. The problem is that the oldest people on earth, Sabrina, also keep trying to flee a lot of countries in Africa. You know what I mean? So it's like, you know, to be fair, there's countries where, you know, they don't even want to live there. We do have to acknowledge, again, historical context is really cool. Let's separate that too from modern day. You know what I mean? Sabrina, yeah, and all that's still going on today. Absolutely. Puzzle, cool. You guys seem pretty knowledgeable. Keep up the good work. Much love from the Virgin Islands. Yo, shout out to you, man.
I haven't been there in a while. I haven't been to the U.S. Virgin Islands in in like 30 years. I was at St. Thomas, and I remember going to St. John, and the beach. The one beach I can say I had a great time when I was on St. John. That's called Trunk Bay. It was an old sugarcane plantation. Like you can still see the smokestacks and the kilns and everything else. Like
Yeah.
they were still intact, but it was awesome, bro. Oh, St. Croix. I haven't. Unfortunately, I didn't get a chance to go to St. Croix, man. I would have loved to have gone and checked out St. Croix, but I basically did St. Thomas and St. John, and I'm long overdue. And I need to go down. I need to go back to the Virgin Islands because you'd be surprised how many people from the mainland actually live on the Virgin Islands too.
Yo, Sabrina with a interest and they still consider black people as slaves, and I'm here in Egypt and I don't feel home or oh shit.
Wow.
Yo, did we hold on? I'm gonna drop the link. Sabrina, I don't know if you can or not, but that would actually be really interesting.
There's so crazy. There are so crazy things going on in this part of the land.
Yo, if you can hop on, you ain't even got a cam up. You know what I mean? We'll make sure we'll verify you, but you ain't gonna got a cam up because that would be like really interesting for you to like enlighten us on.
Yeah, but I do hear what she's saying because there's some areas in Africa that has issue with Black Americans. You know, there are some. I'm not going to say all, but there are some places in some areas within Africa that have issues with Black Americans.
Oh yeah. Yeah, Puzzle, I love learning and you're in a different perspective of history. Keep up the great work. Yeah, man.
Appreciate
it. Keep coming with them historical things. Make us look, keep us on our toes, you know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, the thing that people don't realize about the transatlantic slave trade, it wasn't just Britain that benefited from it. Spain, Portugal, the Netherlands, France, even Italy at one time, Belgium, because of King Leopold II and what he did, or he had done in some parts of Africa for rubber. A good number of countries in Europe have all benefited from the slave trade.
We need to be way more direct than that, Anton. Unfortunately, we're gonna stick on our people a little bit. Right? We got the Ashanti Confederacy, part of the Ghana Empire, dominated the Gold Coast and was heavily involved in slave trading. The Benin Kingdom, the Kingdom of Dahomey, known for expanding its power through military raids and selling prisoners. The Oyo Empire, Yoruba, Nigeria, major supplier of slaves in the 17th, 18th centuries. Aro Confederacy, Nigeria, controlled a vast network for capturing and trafficking people in southeastern Nigeria. In Bangala, Angola, operated as professional mercenary bands capturing others for export.
And Angola was a colony of Portugal. Angola and Mozambique.
And so I think this is the part, Anton, that people really will get defensive or emotional about, but I don't. And here's why. When I look at history and I start learning about West African history, I start noticing that, oh, wait, they were a bunch of empires doing the same shit every other empire around the world was doing. Raiding villages, trying to control freaking shipping routes and logistics routes, right? Trying to control merchant routes, trying to make diplomatic deals, right? Practicing crazy religions, trying to convert. Like, it's almost as if human beings doing human being shit, Anton.
It was. The only difference is a lot of those, a good number of those empires kept everything going on the continent.
Anton, these empires, like shout out to the Ghana Empire, or what was I think it was the Wagadu Empire that turned into the Ghanaian Empire, or vice versa. But shout out to them, bro. That's a North or West, that's a West African empire that literally controlled the entire gold supply and gold trading routes along the Mediterranean in the Middle East. That was a West African empire. That's dope. That's cool.
Most people don't realize like good parts of the Middle East weren't established per se. You had warring nomads at one time. That's how the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia was established. You had warring nomads fighting for that land, and the last family standing was the House of Saud. That's how the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia was established.
Yep.
And then how they profited even more, they found oil.
And so when we just go over those list of kingdoms, right? Because first and foremost, let's be clear, there were definitely Europeans just snatching people up, okay? But we also have to acknowledge, my fellow Black Americans, that the majority of slaves were sold off by our ancestors, if you will. But you guys got to understand, kings and queens are 1% in any country. So, of course, they're going to sell off the peasants and the prisoners, because that's what they do in any kingdom.
Most often they were prisoners.
Exactly. And that's what I'm getting to, Anton, because when I listed off all of those empires, or at least the handful of empires I listed off that were part of rounding people up, rounding tribal leaders up, right? It was peasants, it was former slaves, it was prisoners of war. And look at that, Anton. Doesn't that, my genetics right now says, based on history, we was already mixed up before we even hit the boats.
I can believe that. I can believe that.
Bro, when you got a whole bunch of different empires, hell, you got two different empires within the same country at the time, in Nigeria, going back and forth with each other, trying to take each other's slaves so they can freaking sell them off to the Europeans. Right? And so the broader point is that we was already, a lot of us was mixed up before we even made the journey, Anton.
I can believe that. I can believe that. That's why I always tell people, when you look at those from the Caribbean, it's a combination of not only Africans, but also the indigenous people that was on those islands in the Caribbean, the Tainos. And most people forget the Tainos occupied Haiti, Dominican Republic, Cuba, Puerto Rico, Jamaica, Trinidad and Tobago, St. Kitts and Nevis, Suriname, the Virgin Islands, both the British and the U.S. Basically anything within the Caribbean, that was the indigenous people of those islands before the colonizers decided to show up. And people don't realize a lot of Western, as much as we're all different when it comes to our languages and when it comes to our languages and some of our cultures, there's some similarities most people don't realize.
Well, yeah, there's going to be similarities simply because we're people.
Yeah.
This is one of the things I push back, Anton, is it kind of sometimes it makes it seem like our ancestors or back in the motherland were like just soft people. Them dudes were warriors, bro.
Yeah.
You know, this is for the people listening, and what I'm saying is this. It got really, did y'all see how the native or the American Indians, Native Americans, however they prefer to be considered, y'all see how they got pissed off when everybody just thought they were a bunch of peace loving, green energy, oh, you know, let's sit around the campfire. The motherfuckers was warriors. They were hunters.
Yeah.
There was different tribes. They didn't like each other. They was fighting each other, bro. Like they was all that shit.
It's funny how a lot of people look at the Native Americans here and think, oh, they're all one the same. No, you had the Seminole, you had the Cherokee, you had the Iroquois, you had the Arapaho, you had the Comanche, you had the Apache, you had the Sioux. I think I just named, 7 tribes right there? The
Just
Chippewa.
off the top of your dome.
The Chippewa. The 5 nations that make up the Ute Nation as well. There was a significant number of tribes in the new U.S. and in Canada. People forget they were different. They were all different tribes. All of them had their own set of land, had their own area where they were going about their business. And then the colonizers wanted to show up.
And was one of the reasons why it pisses me off. Wrong one. Because, again, Anton, our people have a bad habit of doing the same shit, bro. We'll talk about this big ass areas if it's one big country instead of a big ass continent with a bunch of different languages, religions, cultures, all that shit. And they didn't get along with each other. You know what I mean? Like this shit is...
It's a lot bigger than people don't realize. The one demographic I can honestly say that I don't think you ever heard stories of them warring against one another, and they were also a group that got royally screwed. Scroll over. You got that map?
Which way?
Scroll. Keep scrolling go east. Keep going. Go down. There you go. You just passed it. Right there. Australia. The Aborigines.
Yeah, bro.
And people never knew a lot of the stuff the Aborigines had to deal with when they were colonized by the English. Not just the Aborigines in Australia, but also the Maori in New Zealand.
Yeah, a lot of those Polynesian tribes, Pacific Islander tribes, bro, they got woof.
Mm-hmm. Yep. I remember hearing the story, and the funny thing about it is this. Here's the thing most people never knew. When the English arrived and everything else, and they saw this particular animal, they asked the Aborigines, what is that animal? What do you call it? You know what the Aborigines said? Kangaroo. Kangaroo. So, of course, the sellers said, it's a kangaroo. No. Kangaroo is Aborigine for I don't know. We don't have a name for that type of animal in our language. That's how kangaroo got their names. They say kangaroo, but they say kangaroo, which means we don't know.
Well, that with English, Anton, as you know, a lot of our words are simply borrowed from indigenous tribes. A lot of English is really just a mixture of other languages at the end of the day.
Indigenous tribes, the French, the German, from French, maybe German, Spanish, Portuguese, so on and so forth.
Yeah. Sabrina says she's from South Sudan.
Mm.
You know what? Screw it. We're going on a trip over there too. Oh, I didn't know it was
that big, huh?
I knew it was that big. I didn't know the borderline, or sort of the natural borderline, was really along the desert / green line.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
South Sudan actually at one time was part of Sudan.
Yeah, man. And unfortunately, this area is still just nonstop civil wars and all this other crap.
And a lot of some of it was stuff that's been going on amongst tribes for a significant amount of time, and some of it, unfortunately, was influenced by those colonizers from Europe. But I digress.
Yeah, man. It was just the religious aspects, Anton. Like, obviously, there's a lot of different ways we could talk about lineage, but it is always crazy with the religious aspect because, again, if you're going to claim, if you just want to be a practicing Christian, nothing wrong with that. Have at it, right?
Mm-hmm.
But when you start mixing up your faith and your religion with genetics or lineage and stuff like that, right? Well, now we got a standard to look at. We can look and we can look at historical records and we can see what's up with that. And unfortunately, man, I get why we have an identity crisis because we're all mixed up. We all lost whatever animalistic or spiritual religions we had in the region when we were when we were imprisoned.
Yeah.
And this is why, Anton, I really consider myself just American because my heritage, if you will, it just starts over here, man. Like all of us, bro. I like thankfully, I mean, not thankfully, but yours is going to be a little bit more linear because your ancestors from the slave trade ended up over here.
Right.
You know what I mean? My ancestors ended up, I believe, in Virginia or North Carolina first. Then, yeah, journeys. Oh, yeah. So here's the journeys, right?
Yeah.
Early North Carolina African Americans. Got the Puerto Rico on there.
But also, don't be surprised if some of my ancestors also came from the slave trade in the States. People forget Louisiana was also still a territory owned by the French.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
People forget that.
Yeah.
Ironically, one particular slave that came from that territory, Louisiana, who went to Haiti and made a name for himself, a gentleman by the name of Jean-Jacques Dessalines, one of the founders, one of the leaders of the revolution. And ironically, some people don't realize after Haiti gained its independence, there's some Haitians that did return back to the States and help build up parts of present-day New Orleans.
Anton, most FBA ADOS is going to have the Jesus Christ. Can I even zoom in on this? Yeah. Most of them are going to be mixed up like this. Yeah, there we go. They're going to be all mixed up over here. And so when you have the genetics of FBA, Anton, where we're also going to have the Irish and everything.
Yep. People forget Ireland was part of England at one point too. A lot of people forget Ireland was part of Britain at one time.
I guess my question is what is considered Black American then? Because if we're going off of pure genetics, all of us are mixed up. And I'm not even just talking about if you happen to be one of the few who only have somehow, if you're a descendants of slaves and you somehow are still genetically only coming from Western Africa, for the vast majority of us, are we not already considered mixed because we're going to have this regardless of the reason?
Yeah. I know, and somewhere in my bloodline, I know somewhere in my family line, scroll into Europe.
Let's see.
If you got to go to the other map,
that map on Ancestry sucks.
Okay, now here's the thing. Right there, you can stop. Now, Okay, since Haiti was once a colony of France, I know for a fact I probably have some French lineage in my bloodline. But you know what most people may not even realize? Uh Come down some more. And all right, freeze it. And I want you to scroll close to Poland. Okay. And here's the thing most people never knew. You have also Haitians of Polish ancestry as well. Because during the Haitian Revolution, France recruited Poland. What's good, Braxton? France asked Poland, recruited Poland to help them fight. When the Polish found out what was going on, they switched sides. They went from fighting for the French to fighting against the French. And after Haiti gained its independence, while the founders wanted all colonizers out, the only people Caucasian that was allowed to stay on the island were the people from Poland, were those who from Poland. So yes, you will find Haitians of Polish descent. Don't be surprised if you see Haitians that have Polish surnames. And also, so one of the distinct features that a lot of those Haitians have is their eyes. They usually have like these silver gray eyes. And you will find some Haitians with natural blonde hair. Those are the ones that are connected with ancestry of Polish descent as well.
Bro, that is exactly like Puerto Rico. Like, guys don't realize, bro, like this little ass island, guys, you will have people from blonde hair, blue eye to super dark skin African, and they don't speak anything but Spanish.
Facts.
All right. Literally everything from me, Anton, and everything in between, darker, lighter, and culturally, guess what, guys? you know what I mean? Like, this is. And so I guess, man, like Anton, that's some of the things like I struggle with is because I've been seeing some of our fellow black men like, okay, we're gonna try to grab onto this history in Africa, or we're gonna try to grab onto Hebrew Israelite, even though like genetically lineage again, that we're nowhere near over there.
Right.
And then meanwhile, we have a heritage. And if you want a lineage, we can start right here in America and be proud of, but it doesn't seem like our guys want to be proud of that necessarily.
Because people can't go that far back. That's why some can only go back maybe 2, at the most maybe 3 generations. When I did a trace back, and my parents and some other relatives explained things to me, my family, my lineage goes back at least a good 5, 6 generations, maybe more. And I remember, and it goes back to what I said before, where I learned in high school a sense of connection. And these two, and I remember one of my teachers in high school, shout out to Mr. Melvin, he had us read these 2 books, and I still remember these books to this day. They stole it, but you must return it. And the other book, Chains and Images and Psychological Slavery. I read those books my senior year in high school. And that's going back at least 30 years.
Yeah, I agree with you. I agree with that perspective. And for me specifically, Anton, again, like now you've seen that, you know, I like to put a map when I'm talking about these things.
Right.
To piece it together and connect the dots.
Right.
What am I supposed to attach to in Africa? My fucking the 11% Benin and Togo, the 9% Nigerian, the 6% Ivory Coast.
Oh, It's not Ivory Coast. It's Cote d'Ivoire. They have a
Cote
no
d'Ivoire?
translation. They have a no translation rule in their constitution that they passed, I think, back in 1992, 93. They don't like to be referred to as Ivory Coast. They refer
Okay.
to it as Cote d'Ivoire.
Cote d'Ivoire.
Cote d'Ivoire. That's how you say Ivory Coast
Cote
in
d'Ivoire.
French.
Okay. And yeah, so like 6% that Ghana and Cote d'Ivoire. Hey, bro, I'm American. I'm gonna try to.
I'm sorry. I grew up hearing French at home, so yes, I can speak with the accent. I can pull it off. Okay.
And then, right, I got all these percentage because I'm mixed up. And then what tribe am I supposed to pick after that?
In that part of Mexico and that part of the States, you can claim Aztec. That area right there, what's on the southwest in Mexico, you could claim Aztec. You might be able to claim, I think, Inca as well, or Mayan.
This is
Mostly Aztec.
barely. This is coming from the Puerto Rican side, and look at this, Anton. That's fucking 1%.
And people forget that area of Mexico and the United States was all colonies of Spain.
Yep. Yeah, but like if you add in, like, because you add in obviously the African DNA is
Right.
the majority, right?
Mm-hmm.
But okay, so what culture, what motherland, like what country am I supposed to fucking pick? If we're going to go based on lineage. And here's the thing, Anton, I know I can't pick Ethiopia. I can't pick Ethiopia for lineage or heritage or anything. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, hell, you know, if you're down here in Southern Africa, there ain't any sort of Middle Eastern religion you're affiliated with. Or at least not until colonial time period. You know what I mean? Like after you've never heard of them shits. And so I'm just trying to figure out, like, in the broader perspective, like why do we try to, like, other than like the reparations argument, I don't know why we try to separate ourselves from broader Africa dysphoria. It doesn't make any sense.
Honestly, the one thing I would love to see done, it may not happen, but I always keep my fingers crossed. I have faith. I would love to see France pay Haiti back all the money Haiti was forced to pay them after they gained their independence.
I agree.
Would love Citibank to cut a check to give back to the island of Haiti for the money they took out of their treasury to establish Citibank. And that's why I refused to bank with them.
Yeah, 100%, Anton. I think it was absolute dog shit. You guys had to pay restitution for your own freedom.
Exactly.
I absolutely think it is it's a layup thing to stand on, that France should have to pay that back.
Yeah. And the thing is, it's easy for people to get on, oh, why is Haiti all this, that, and the other? Because these colonizers use Haiti as an example to all the other islands in the Caribbean. This is what can happen to you if you think about trying to rise up against us. Because it was one thing after another, after another, after another that happened to Haiti, all because they gained their independence. And these colonizers wanted my ancestors, my people, to pay an exorbitant price just to be free. People forget how far colonizers will go just to send a message. And it goes back to what Bougie Bonton said. When all the islands stayed down, bowed down, Haiti refused to do the same thing. They stood up. Every time they were forced to bow down, they stood up. My people have been bent for too long. But one thing I've learned from my parents, you will never break us. No matter how much pressure you put on us, we will never break. And that was something that was instilled in me by both my parents. And that was something instilled in me by my grandparents. And the one thing my grandparents also instilled in my brother and sister and me and a lot of my younger relatives, we bow to no fucking crown.
Yeah, I agree, Anton. I have told people on multiple panels, um, I walk around this country as if I own it, like any other white Americans, because I do. My ancestors spilled just as much fucking blood on this continent as theirs did. So did yours, Anton.
The Battle of Savannah.
And so this idea of like I guess for Haitians, it's easy for you guys to hold on to your heritage and a real foundational pillar. I thought it was just as easy for us as Black Americans to hold on to our pillar here, but we got so many people ashamed of it. Like so many people who look at our history here in America and aren't proud. But then, Anton, I just got to call out some of our people, man. We probably did more research in the hour we've been up here than they have about any of these countries, any of these religions, and yet they'll be the most defensive about it if you challenge them on it.
Yep. That's why, like, for example, like people are surprised voodoo is a recognized religion in Haiti. Now, the thing is, like, when I see things like The Walking Dead and all these movies about zombies, I laugh at it because a lot of that was based off of voodoo culture. And the reason why I laugh at that, because what I learned growing up, zombies weren't these individuals that walked around, wanted to eat your brains and everything else. These were individuals whose souls could not cross over. There's a story I remember my grandmother told me about our equivalent of the boogeyman, Uncle Gunnysack, also known as the Snatcher of Souls. He would take unruly children, cage them up, and then eat them for breakfast.
That's hardcore.
Yeah. The other thing about Uncle Gunnysack, he carried something called a makut, which was a straw satchel.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah. Like I said, snatcher of souls. And that's what he would do. He would snatch your soul. You were his puppet, and he was pulling the strings. And no matter how hard you try, you can never break free from him. And what he would do is you would do his bidding on this side. You will feel no joy, yet you will feel no pain. You will not age a bit, and you will watch everyone in your family grow old and die. Basically, what my grandmother told me, the origin of the term, a fate worse than death.
Anton, that's scary as shit.
And I learned that at a young age.
Okay.
That's why
we're going to look up. Keep it going, but I'm letting you know what I'm about to do, and we're about to go down this rabbit hole together.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna look up based on the genetics, the scariest fucking stories of each country, dog. Yeah. So we're gonna start with Benin. Am I saying it right? In Togo?
Benin. Yeah, Benin. They were also a colony of the French. I think Togo as well.
Areas. So for example,
Mm-hmm.
the most terrifying horror stories in Benin and Togo often stem from real-world, deeply feared voodoo or voodoo legends and spiritual practices. Particularly the Zangbedo guardians of the night, which appear as spinning, hay-covered spirits that can reportedly identify sinners and criminals, causing immense fear. Other chilling tales revolve around the Ako de Sewa fetish market, where dark, powerful charms and rituals are made from animal parts, such as skulls, to invoke spirits. Yeah. Hell yeah, bro.
And the thing is, a lot of the stuff was always not. And the thing most people don't realize, like some areas of voodoo have elements of Christianity attached to it. It
Mhm.
was also done to scare the colonizers.
But
Like,
but Anton, there's always going to be some overlap with with religious practices. You know what I mean?
right,
There's always a little bit of that.
right. And the thing is, we all like you always hear people saying, "You have family that practices it." I probably do. But my parents just said, just you see them, come here, suck off it, and that's it. Keep your distance.
So, the most iconic and feared horror story in Nigeria is Madame Koi Koi or Lady Koi Koi, a legendary vengeful ghost haunting boarding school dormitories at night. Oh, often depicted wearing red heels. This urban legend, characterized by the sound of her heels, koi koi, and her pursuit of students, is considered quintessential terrifying boarding school story. Jesus Christ, Nigeria. Oh, look at this black
yeah.
sucker saying who's the white boy talking about black culture. I don't know who that white boy is, man. Perhaps you should tell us. Yeah, bro. Koi Koi. Woo. They also got another one, the Bush Baby, a creature that makes noises like a human baby in the night, luring victims to their demise in the bush. Yo, I could see that, bro, because that natural instinct to want to, like, oh my God, there's a child. Oh,
Yeah,
no, that's fucked up.
that cry. Yeah, that cry is bait. Ironically, the thing about a lot of the things about voodoo, like one of the presidents in Haiti, Francois Duvalier, aka Papa Doc, he wasn't just a doctor. He actually was a practice. I believe, if I remember, he was a very high-ranking person in voodoo who practiced voodoo. So he used a lot of the stories and the legends of Uncle Gunnysack and used it to his advantage. He had a private hit squad. They were known as the Tonton Makut, aka Soul Snatchers. And the thing was, one of the things they did was they always wore mirrored sunglasses because you couldn't see their eyes and they showed no emotion.
And guys, to emphasize what Anton's telling y'all about, Haitian voodoo is the most prominent form of the religion, serving as a major, often blended faith in Haiti, while West African voodoo is heavily practiced in Benin and Togo, with with both of them combined over 50 million adherents.
Like you always hear stories like, "Oh, like my parents sometimes would just say that," but nah, they know there's some truth to it. They just don't want to tell us. Perfect example, like if you go to my parents' house and you open up one of the cupboards, you will see a plate with bones on it.
For what, and what would be the purpose?
Each bone represents an individual that lives or has lived in that house. In other words, individuals of the family that live there. There are 5 bones on that plate. Each bone represents us: my father, my mother, my brother, my sister, and myself. We had 6 bones.
Mm.
Oh, now 5 ever since my grandmother died back in 97. Took one of those bones and buried it with her. Another thing my father does, he'll take a piece of bread, put it on a plate, and keep it in the back of the cupboard. The significance of that is to make sure that there's always food in this house and no one will ever go hungry. Now, some people think that's kind of weird and it makes no type of sense, but my parents believe in that. Yes, both my parents are practicing Catholics, but there are just some things associated with our culture that my parents still do. One time, my wife and I went to my parents' house to eat, and my mother made soup. I'm talking to my mother. My wife is making a bowl. Something freaked her out. She's telling me to look in the pot. I'm like, okay. I'm making myself a bowl. I hear I tap something with the ladle. I use the ladle to pick it up. Ma, you got a goat head in there? And my wife almost freaked out. Now, I haven't had goat head soup in a very long time. It's very good, too. Don't get me wrong. It's very good. So my mother was like, yeah. Why do you need a goat head? Need seasoning. I haven't had goat head soup in a long time. I know. But then I said the one thing I never should have said. Can I keep the skull? And then my mother looked at me and started cursing me out in Creole. I was like, you're right. My bad. I shouldn't have said that. My fault. I'm sorry. You're right. Never should have said that. And my mother cursed me out in Creole. My wife asked me what happened. I told her, you don't want to know. And she said, why you make a big deal about the skull? It's one of those things you're not supposed to do. So those are one of the things that I've learned at a young age. And remember, there's just some things associated with my culture that, we just don't do. Plain and simple. I feel like when you have an understanding of certain things of your lineage and your history, it's something that I always learned from, not just from my parents, but from one of my uncles. If you know the past, you'll know the future. Because the history is supposed to be a map telling you what direction to go. You see the good, you make it better. You see the bad, you avoid it at all costs. And the problem is, especially in this country now, we choose to forget about the past and we find ways to make the same mistakes over and over and over again. Why? Because we're embarrassed to say that there are some things that were done and it's all about ego and pride. I can honestly tell you from things that I have witnessed and I have looked up, if you have read about a lot of the things that have gone on during the slave trade, not just here in the United States, but in other countries as well, that had similar practices, I guarantee you we will all want to burn every capital city in Europe down. That is the thing that why it's important to learn history. That is why whatever faith you practice, use your faith to guide you. One thing I've also learned over time, when the ancestors speak, you listen. because the ancestors are supposed to guide you on that journey of life and make sure no matter what, that anything and everything you do is a good decision, a safe decision, and a smart one. It is sad when we lose our loved ones, especially our grandparents, especially our parents. But we always say, yeah, they're with the man upstairs. But I know for a fact they're also walking with the ancestors. And they have ways of guiding us on how not to make mistakes, on how to avoid things, how to make wise decisions. That's why it's always important to have an understanding of your lineage and your history. Because, like I said, when you know the past, you'll know the future. And the only demographic I can say that refuses to acknowledge everything about their past is the status quo. Because it's too easy to try to paint them as these great individuals, these heroes. But they weren't. Yes, they were human, but they also did some of the worst things unimaginable. That's why I have issues with all this stuff that's happening and trying to prop them up, looking like as if they're these icons, and they're not. I have issue when you take a fool like Charlie Kirk and you try to put him on the same level as Martin Luther King Jr. They are not the same. Plain and simple. King fought not just for people that looked like us, but King also fought for anyone that was on the outside looking in. People forget that he did a lot to help benefit not just black people, but women and other groups that were disenfranchised and the disabled. Charlie Kirk only talked about trying to make his demographic look like they're the best thing since sliced bread. They are not the same. That's why I tell people history is important. Have an understanding of how things work. Have an understanding of how things were. What can we do to make sure to never go back down that road? And I feel like the reason why colonizers do not want the ugliness of history being taught, it's not because their children's fragile minds can't handle it. It's because they don't want their children and their grandchildren to know what they took part in. Not only they don't want their children to know what their parents and grandparents or other members of their family have taken part in, but they're afraid of the one small thing that could happen. That their child or grandchild sees this and says this. This is wrong and things need to change. And that's the one thing certain individuals of a certain demographic do not want to happen. Because if you can't, because let's be honest, the individuals now, you can't get through to them. They're already set in their ways. But if you can get into their children or to their grandchildren and they see what's going on, and they know what's wrong, and they're not afraid to put themselves on the line saying this is wrong, that's what scares them the most. Could you imagine if the president found out that Barron doesn't want to go along with all the stuff that he's doing? Or his granddaughter Kai does not want to go along with everything that's going? He'd freak out. What's going on, lunatic libertarian? I get what you're saying. I totally understand what you're saying. Yes, centralized systems are failing. They're failing. They're currently failing because you have individuals who focus too much on one thing. They want to line their pockets to make sure they have more zeros coming after certain numbers. And the real sad part about it also is a lot of these individuals can have everything going in their favor. And sad part about it, they'll still find a way to say it's not enough. So I totally understand why people may not like it, and they have a right to feel like that. I get what you're saying, Lunatic. It is a lot of fraud. It is a lot of waste. It's a lot of abuse and corruption. And a lot of those individuals, no matter what side they're on, need to be held accountable. But unfortunately, it all goes back to something Mark Cuban said. Pigs get fat, hogs get slaughtered. And the sad part about it, when you go to Washington, we got way too many hogs occupying the Capitol building. We got one serious hog living at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue. And you're right. There's a lot of things that they can do in their position to make sure everyone benefits, and they can still get there and they'll still get paid. But unfortunately, they still don't think that's enough. So they'll look at every way possible to make sure they get a little bit of everything, just to make sure everyone else doesn't get anything. So believe me, there are ways things that could be better. But unfortunately, you have individuals who just don't want things to change. Because when they feel like that this is their birthright, they're going to do everything possible to make sure they stay in power. And that's why I say they hold on to their privilege like a wino clutching his last bottle of whiskey. Come on up, lunatic libertarian. You can have a great discussion on something like this and on everything else that we were talking about before. Tyrus is right now taking care of his technical issues. Anyone else want to join in? Come on, join in. Hit the link. If you like what's going on here, bro. Oh, come on, lunatic. Really? You really got to put. Oh, man. I like that comment. I'll give you that. But hey, if anyone likes what's going on in this video, hey, hit that like button. If you like this, if you like what Tarus and I were talking about on his channel here at BMU, here at Black Man Unfiltered, at the Black Man Unfiltered Network, hit that subscribe button as well. Come on up. We want to have a good discussion about this type of stuff. And if you like what I got to say, cool. You don't agree with me? Okay. What's up, BMU?